My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
You got the doctor in front of your name.
It's good. It's important for people to know, but I oftentimes get pushback when I talk about theology and the Black experience or the Black church. And people may say, well, there is no Black church because, you know, we're just one body, which is true. We're one body. But I wonder, like, what would you say to those who, when you're explaining what theology centered in African centricism or Afrocentricism, what does that look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always think about, I always wonder about people's spiritual formation and theological formation when they think that theology is some neutral discipline that's divorced, of our embodiedness and who God made us to be and where we are in our social location. Because as Christians, I can only speak, as a Christian, as a public theologian, the faith that we subscribe to, the God to whom we serve, is a brown-skinned Palestinian Jewish man right now. He did not raise as a ghost. Okay. We don't worship Casper the Friendly Ghost. We worship Jesus Christ, the King of Kings. Okay. Yeah. And so who was born? Okay. In Palestine, we have got what we now know as Palestine. They're in Gaza. Okay. Who had a target on his back? Well, on his life, let me say, from Herod, who had to flee to Egypt, which is in Africa, so that he could stay alive to do and accomplish the mission for which he was sent here to do, which was to save us, to save our Black selves. Okay, so I'm just like, what's really going on here? So I think sometimes we can approach the text or approach the faith in ways that are disembodied, disconnected from the historical reality, from the geographical reality of the fact that, first of all, it's an Eastern religion. And so I'm always wondering about people's theology and really what do you believe about the resurrection? It was a bodily resurrection. And because what is not assumed is not redeemed, right? According to Tertullian, an African theologian. And so let's really make sure we're going back to the basics, which is something that we emphasized here on Truth Table this last year, because we're seeing these things and we're like, do people know the faith? Do people understand the fundamentals of the faith? So when I hear those questions, I'm just always just trying to present them with what is historically true and factual. And God made us Black on purpose, and we are Black and beautiful.
Yeah. The way y'all just be eating the girls up with all the facts and stuff, like, I'm here for it.
But people are oftentimes not having they're not having necessarily an intellectual or theological conversation. They're having an emotive conversation that is wearing the facade of intellectualism. What the reality, the reason why people are raising that question is because they've been hurt by white supremacy. And because in their imagination, they associate Christianity with whiteness. Their rejection of whiteness, which they should reject, is so tied to their version of Christianity that they're also rejecting the faith as well. And I would just challenge people about that with all the things that Ekemini just shared so thoughtfully, but also to actually read scripture for yourself and to read it in a contextual way. And to pull out those Bible maps that used to come in the old school Bibles and really think about where these people are in the world, right? And so when scripture talks about the gospel or God's grace going to the uttermost parts of the world, that's us.
That's us in the West. Hello.
Hello. So, that would be the parts of the world that we now associate sometimes with Christianity, but its origin story, as Ekemini talked about, is very much both African and Asian. It's Eastern. And so that is not stated as to somehow dehumanize people of European descent. It's just stated as a fact. But we do have to actively resist the propaganda of this made in America Christianity, because
Definitely.
it's been distorted, and it's deadly. And so I think sometimes, particularly when Black folks are pushing back on white supremacy, which they should, because their imagination around Christianity is so shaped by that, whether they know that or not, they're sometimes also leaving the faith as well. They're throwing the baby, the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
And I would remind them that the baby that Ekemini just described is indeed a person of color who is actively advocating and is the God who is in solidarity with the oppressed. And if you don't believe me, believe Jesus's mama, because that's what Mary says in the Magnificat. She's very clear as she is carrying Jesus about the desire to see God tear down oppressors and evil empires. That's what Mary's Magnificat is about. And it's not speaking just
Mary did know.
it's not just speaking philosophically or metaphorically or just spiritually. She is speaking literally about active issues of injustice that would have impacted her at that time period when she was born. Just like we all know someone who's experienced police brutality, or we ourselves know it. Everyone in that context with Mary would have known someone who had experienced crucifixion, a family member, a loved one, and it disproportionately affected men. And so just like as Black women, we have a special, I think, kindred throughout history with the narrative of Mary and the narrative of the people of Jesus's time, because we can identify so much with that level of social oppression.
Amen.
The doctor in front of your name.
When something happens to your kitchen, you might say,
"This is ludicrous."
but that won't fix your home. That will only get you the rapper, Ludacris.
Having trouble? Don't panic. Don't be alarmed. You need to file a claim? Holla at State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
That's right. You can file a claim on the app or call us.
Thanks, Mr. Chris.
No matter how ludicrous the situation, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.